Turn off the video too. I can do
That
this.
helps me.
He's going
I
incognito.
can do the full wang bang boozle.
Oh, no, Russell.
Turn off the video too.
30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, two more coming.
That is the new land development regulation. And the dates for the meetings.
Okay. I'm Diane. Cassada. Glad to meet you. Of the board, I guess.
Yeah, I got homework
Yes.
and another one.
Yeah. They provide you lots of paper.
I get you one more decline.
Yeah. I think-
So RITA and CA.
SSIDA.
They didn't let us know that you were coming, so.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a secret.
I don't know. You know, they don't know for sure yet. Oh, well.
So, what's
Oh,
your,
no. No, that was.
what's your history?
Family history goes way back to my grandparents, but we, my husband and I went to school at K-State, and then we ended up living in South Kansas City until March of 2020. We thought it was a good time to move to Manhattan. We were supposed to do it in June, but with COVID, my daughter graduated from high school and they had remote school, so we had bought a house out at University Park up north. And that's where we always want to be. So can't retire yet, so at least we'll be at the lake. And we both work from home anyway.
Yeah.
So
University Park.
you have lots of business up in that area.
Yeah.
I didn't know of it when I was at school here. I mean, I remember getting as far north as like Riley, but I don't think. Further
Yeah,
north.
no, University Park was. Yeah, it was kind of there, but it was not yet probably and everything.
We want to be within, 25 minutes more, and it's about. 25 minutes.
He's gonna start it.
Oh.
Let him know.
Yes.
Then you turn on the video, right?
Lisa, you haven't heard from this?
There's John right there
That was John.
that I haven't returned.
Okay, so I assume.
I'm assuming he's gonna,
I guess this is still my spot.
that's still your spot.
I've been here for like 6 months.
Well, you're looking there.
That's right.
Here comes Nathan.
All right.
Meeting dates for the year.
All right.
What do they call it?
I'm good. I'm good.
And you can see that there's coffee and cookies and.
No, I didn't put.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Lisa kept busy this month with fees and you kept busy this month with fees.
This is the time of the year we renew a lot of licenses.
Yeah, that's what I
So
noticed.
Especially the toilet guys.
Yeah.
They called Tom on the way and said, hey, you're missing out.
That's how you're late for the meeting.
Send that, please send that to you. For this. This one here. You're gonna resend that out.
So how long have you been?
yeah, he just asked me to send you guys the staff
Year and a
report by
half.
email.
Did you send that?
This time around.
Okay.
You did, sir. I got it.
Okay,
There was just one paragraph in the back we changed.
yeah.
resolved.
I mean, it's no, I watched the whole thing. It's out.
So the staff report that came out with one paragraph that I did change.
Oh.
It
This
was
is.
just a legal description.
I just printed the.
Yeah, right.
I just don't-
Yeah, I got
didn't even look. I didn't want to. Get rid of the other one.
I read that first one. Yep.
Okay, at this time, I'll call the meeting of the Riley County Planning Board.
Yeah, bring it down to you.
Am I not loud enough?
No.
Okay. Hello, hello?
Tap it. Yeah, you're gonna need to lean into your microphone.
Or pull it closer.
Pull it closer.
Yeah.
There. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the Riley County Planning Board and Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Our first thing that we do usually at a meeting is have open comments. And these are comments about anything that is not on the agenda tonight, but that anyone in the audience is welcome to come and voice their opinion on something or to give us any information you want to. And if you do that, you would go to the podium and say your name and then address us.
Before we get to
Oh, I'm
that,
sorry, Bob.
we have a new planning board member, Amanda.
Good evening, everybody. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. As you have, of course, already seen, we have a new Planning Board member here, Rita Cassada. This will be her first meeting with us. So again, I know you all kind of introduced yourself and said hello, but we did, of course, want to make sure, of course, for the benefit of the audience, the millions watching us now, and of course, you folks that we introduce Rita. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll proceed with open comments. Does anyone have anything they'd like to talk about? Okay, seeing none, we will go on with our agenda then. We have the consent agenda that was sent out to the board members. The minutes of the last meeting, November 8th meeting. I guess we didn't have a December meeting, November 8th meeting, and consideration of the reports of fees.
I just have one thing, on the building permit issues. On the December, Brenner Excavating, for a communication tower and clarification on why they don't have to come and get a special use for that. Bob, can you?
That particular tract is zoned heavy industrial, and they are a permitted use in that zoning district. So they would not require a conditional use or a special use for that matter. Did everyone hear me?
Yeah. Okay, are there any other questions?
I move we approve the consent agenda for this evening and the minutes as well as the report of fees for the month of November and December.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, the minutes and the monthly report of fees from December and November. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-5-0.
Right.
Have to get used to that.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then we'll move on to our general agenda for the joint board, the planning board and the Board of Zoning Appeals. And our first item of business tonight in the new year is election of officers. So do I hear any nominations?
Which one are we starting with?
Pardon?
Which one are we starting with?
I was just about ready to say that. Do I hear any nominations for the office of the chairman?
I nominate Diane Hoover.
If you're willing to serve, I'll second the nomination.
Yeah,
You don't have to, I mean.
no, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. We'll give it a try here. Depends how the planning or the community center goes.
Okay.
So, okay, nominated Diane Hubler for chairman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, the next office would be vice chairman. Do I hear any nominations?
I'll nominate John Wink.
John Wink's been nominated for vice chairman.
John, if you're willing to serve,
Yep.
I'll second.
Okay, John has been nominated and seconded for a nomination for John Wink. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. And then we need to appoint a secretary. And
That's me.
I was gonna say, and that is, we do Bob for that,
I
so.
move we make a motion to appoint Bob Isaac as our secretary.
Okay,
I'll second.
moved and seconded that we appoint Bob Isaac as our secretary for the planning board and zoning appeals board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you guys want to ask me if I wanted?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Choice.
It's a railroad job.
We figured you were just so willing to do it. So, okay, it's been voted on and approved that Bob Isaac will be our secretary for the planning board and board of zoning appeals. Do I hear a motion to close the joint meeting and reconvene as the Riley County Planning Board as we have no business for the Board of Zoning Appeals?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the meeting, joint meeting of the Riley County Planning Board and the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene as the Riley County Planning Board. Okay, our first agenda item tonight is a public hearing at the request of Mark Lott and as petitioner and Mark and Stacy Lott as owners to replat lots 9 through 11 of the Crowell addition into a single lot in Wildcat Township, Section 6, Township 10 South, Range 7 East in Riley County. Bob, could you enlighten us on?
You, just to let the board know, and folks in the audience, we do have refreshments out here. Oh, there's no popcorn for the show. Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, Mark Lott has made application with Riley County Planning and Development requesting to replat lots 9, 10, and 11 of the Crowell addition into a single lot. To some of you, this may look familiar. The subject site is generally located approximately 882 feet west of West 60th Avenue on the north side of Anderson Avenue. And this overhead is an indication of what the GIS website displays as parcel lines. And so what you see here, it looks like there's 2 lots, but this one here is actually 2. And under one property identification number. That's why it looks like that. But if you imagine there's a dashed line across here, so there's actually 3 lots here, 9, 10, 11, okay? And those lots were platted in September of 1974 of the Crowell addition. The lots were never developed and remained vacant. The applicant wishes to combine the lots to increase the overall size of the property in order to build a home and meet the sanitary code. The site was zoned to A1 single-family residential during the 1974 countywide zoning conversion process. The zoning district was later renamed to SF1 single-family residential in May of 2012. As of the first of this year, the naming convention of the SF1 zoning district changed to SF2 single-family residential. There are no conditional uses, special uses, or variances associated with the subject property. Riley County Fire District Number 1 will serve the site. The nearest county fire station is the Keats Fire Station located at 3141 West 69th Avenue. The subject site is located within 5 road miles of a fire station. The upper half of this map illustrates that the site is located entirely within the Land Use Planning Zone, or LUPZ, as per the most recent joint land use study. Due to the proposed residential use, the subject site is subject to the notice of potential noise impacts from Fort Riley, Kansas, military installation and recommended noise attenuation building methods as indicated by book and page on the final plat. The Director of Public Works on Fort Riley has reviewed the request. He reported that this site is located near the Fort Riley military installation. It generates noise by the firing of weapon systems and detonation of explosives on the installation. He reported that according to Fort Riley's installation operational noise management plan of 2015, noise sensitive land uses are generally acceptable within the LUPZ. This is the final plat illustrating the orientation and location of the lot's boundaries. Again, this is a replat, so it does not require a preliminary plat. This is the final. The subject site directly abuts Anderson Avenue, a paved two-lane major collector and road maintained by the county. Due to the functional classification of Anderson Road or Avenue, there is an 80-foot building setback for the property measured from the center of the road bed. There is an existing egress the applicant will need to acquire an entrance permit for from Riley County Public Works. Staff recommends that the planning board approve the final plat of Crowell Addition Unit 2, as it has been determined to meet the minimum requirements of the Riley County Land Development Regulations and Sanitary Code. That's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'm glad to field those.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Bob?
I don't.
This is fairly straightforward.
You know,
I have no questions.
Okay, do I hear a motion then?
we got it.
I'm sorry. My mind's not in it here. Okay, we will open it up for public comment and stuff. Is the petitioner here? Would you like to say something? And if you would you please go to the microphone, state your name and.
I don't know that we need to say anything. It looks pretty straightforward to me, but that's a few.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if there was just something you wanted to add to explain a little better to us, or you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any opponents to the petition? Would you please go to the microphone? State your name and then.
I'm Doyle Jones. I live at 6016 Anderson, just west of that, or east of that, I'm sorry. All we're wanting to know is you're planning to build a home there? Is that what you're planning?
I'm planning to get it approved so that I can sell it, so that the home can be built there.
Okay. At one time, was there trouble getting a sewage system there? Is that correct?
I don't know, that's Bob, is it?
All right, guys, everyone, we need to direct the comments to the board.
Okay.
Okay, instead of these discussions.
All right.
So and you'll have to choose me. This is the
Okay,
first time I.
okay. Anyway, was there issue one time with getting a sewage system put in there?
I think we can have Bob answer that maybe. There was something in the environmental health report here about that.
Okay, well, there was a soil profile done, and the area that they found that will be suitable is right here. But it appears that it's going to need to be an alternative system, I believe. And it will also need to have soil brought in and set. So, but
And it would have to sit for a year
Yeah.
before it could be
yeah, I believe
installed.
that's a possibility but it's been worked out
Yeah,
with the environmental health specialist. So it's good to go.
okay.
And
Does that
yes,
answer
that's
your
the-
question then?
That's the intent, is to
Yeah.
build a house.
Folks, I don't have any opposition to it. I just wanted to know what was going to be done with the lots there. Thank you.
Are there any other opponents? If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for board discussion. Any comments?
I guess I'd like to ask a little bit more information on why it needs to sit for a year. I mean,
Okay, you don't have to pull your microphone.
okay, I'm sorry, let me take the mask down too. In order for this alternative waste disposal system to be approved or used, the soil must be brought in and set for a year. What is the purpose behind that?
It's the specific type of alternative system that's being used. There's specific requirements of the soil depth and the perk rate and all the other things have to work in conjunction. And the technical side of it is beyond me, but the solution has been offered by the environmental health specialist that this is doable.
Okay,
It's probably with the settling of the soil.
That would be my
be-
guess.
Well,
too, yeah.
yeah, that, and there has to be a certain amount of soil between the top layer and the bedrock. There has to be a certain amount of soil to do its function.
Mm.
So, I haven't personally reviewed the soil or the profile to know what was the issue. But that's what was relayed to me, what needs to happen. So bottom line is, can it happen? If he does it, can it work for the house? And he assured us that it will.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Please forgive me. Like I said, do I hear a motion that we close the public hearing so that we can have deliberation among the board?
I move we close the public hearing and go into deliberation mode.
Okay, do I hear a second? Seconded? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay, so Joe had the question about why it needed to be set there for a year or and stuff. So is there anything else?
I don't have any. I think it's a pretty straightforward deal. I read through that there. I've seen some of those raised beds done already in the county up north end, so they were,
They
from
do.
what I've been,
I've not
told
seen
by the
one.
people that's put them in, so I'm good.
Anyone else? Do I hear a motion?
I move we make a motion to approve the request of the replat of lots 9 through 11 of Crowell Addition into a single lot to be known as Lot 1, the Crowell Addition, into Unit 2, as it has been determined to meet the requirements of the Raleigh County Development Regulations.
Do I hear a second?
You
It's
made
been
it.
moved and seconded that we approve the request to replat lots 9 through 11 on petition 22-0001 for Mark Lot. Lots 9 through 11 of the Crowell Addition into a single lot and to be known as Lot 1 of the Crowell Addition, Unit 2, as it's been determined that it does meet the requirements of the Riley County Land Development Regulations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, let me take this opportunity to announce that the plat will go on to the Board of County Commissioners as a formality, essentially. They will be heard, the request will be heard Thursday, January 20th in these chambers at 9:50 a.m. Oh, your public service announcement on that one. If you have any questions, let me know. Yep.
He has a.
Okay.
Did you all hear that Bob does have a plat that we will need to sign
Yes.
on that one?
Okay. All at the table.
Okay, moving on, our next petition, applicant Hillary Swindler, and property owners, Jack and Mary Aiken Trust. So we will let Bob enlighten us.
Okay, once again, good evening. Hillary Swindler has made application with Raleigh County Planning and Development requesting approval for a residential use designator isolated home site for an unplatted tract of land. The subject site is generally located approximately 4,500 feet north of Pillsbury Crossing Road on the west side of Pleasant Valley Road. The subject site is an approximate 22-acre portion of a larger 184-acre parent tract. And this is the parent tract over here. So what isolates this, so you know, is the highway. It cuts it off from the rest of the farming over here, and ownership around this portion of the site. The subject site, along with the rest of the parent tract and surrounding property, is zoned AG Agricultural District, shown in gray. There are no variances, conditional uses, or special uses associated with the site. Riley County Fire District number 1 will serve the site. The nearest county fire station is the Zendale Fire Station, located at 955 Tabor Valley Road. The subject site is located within 5 road miles of a fire station. Now, with this particular residential use designator, of which we do not have very many in the county, there's very few of them. But in many cases, there are a justification for development of a non-agriculturally related residence in the agricultural areas. This is one of them. The specific criteria for approving a residential use designator for an isolated home site listed in section 4.7 of the Riley County Land Development Regulations. There are 10 standards that must be met for approval. I'd like to go over those with you and everyone here so they know what they're facing as far as the conditions. First, the site must be isolated on all sides from surrounding agricultural lands by a state, county, or township road. Check. And one or more of the following criteria: change in topography that limits the movement of farm equipment, water, like a stream, river, we have those, significant tree stand. And you notice going back to this shot here, there's significant tree stands on all sides of this. Differences in ownership that restrict access to the site. That's on 3 sides of it. Number 2, the isolated home site to be created should be the minimum required to accommodate a new residence and any accessory buildings, or to accommodate a site that is logically separated from the remaining tract. We'll have to go to the second or the latter portion of that sentence there because of the size of the parent tract. The size of the isolated portion is actually 22 acres approximately. That seems a bit large, but compared to the rest of the parent tract, not so much. But it does exceed the platting requirements of 20 acres threshold. So in other words, with this, there's a request to waive the requirement to plat the property. So we don't need a 22-acre lot necessarily. That's not the intent. But it is logically separated from the remaining tract. Inclusion of existing productive agricultural land should be avoided. And as you can see, it's very heavily wooded. Some of those trees will need to be removed just to develop it. So it's not a that's not a farmable tract. 3, the site shall be large enough to meet sanitary code requirements. Again, Harry's gone out, he's done the soil profile, and he's already determined what kind of system can go where on the site. Residential use designator for an isolated home site is limited to a density of 1 residence for each 40 acres per original tract. Notice the difference there between other residential use designators. This is based on a 40-acre portion, not limited to 1 per parent tract. But there's not plans at this point for an additional isolated home site. The number 5, the isolated home site or a home site lot must be platted and must meet all requirements for a plat. Again, unless the site is 20 acres or larger. In this particular case, it's larger, and there's a request to the planning board to waive that requirement for the plat. 6, an agricultural protection easement as specified in section 6.13, agricultural protection easement shall be filed with the Register of Deeds. That's again, something we have prepared. Anything being any new development, any rezoning, that kind of thing, they have to sign this and file it. And that protects surrounding farmers and allows them to continue doing what they do. Number 7, any significant tree stand that isolates the tract shall be required to remain intact as much as possible to keep an agricultural buffer. Such area shall be identified on the site plan and shall become a condition of designator approval. Just to refer to the site plan, there have been some changes recently, as recent as this morning. And we need to bring those changes of that site plan to the board. There will need to be changes to the site plan. And I'll get to those in a moment. And finally, a site plan is required as outlined in section 3.17 site plan. And isolated home site shall not be approved if it's located within the state required minimum separation distance of a permitted CAFO or confined animal feeding operation. And it is not. So, and I believe this is the final condition. An isolated home site shall not be approved if it's located within the noise zone 2 as identified by Fort Riley. And again, it's on the other side of the county, so that's not an issue. So what we're looking at here is the site plan. One of it shows the proposed layout of the proposed development of the site, which is also going to change slightly, possibly. The approximate location of the proposed home, shop, and driveway. The subject site is topographically split from north to south by a first order stream. And that's right here going from the pond and going eastward. That's actually a first order stream. So with that, it requires a setback of 50 feet, a riparian buffer. It is proposed that the subject site will be served by a standard septic lateral system. They found a place for that to work. Although a 2-inch, excuse me, although a 2-inch rural water district number 2 main runs along Pleasant Valley Road, the applicant wishes to attempt serving the property with a private water well. If the proposed well is deemed unsuccessful, the applicant plans on connecting to rural water. The subject site is currently has direct access to Pleasant Valley Road, a gravel 2-lane township road, and all entrances will be required or the entrance permit, I should say, will be required as part of the building permit process. As mentioned previously, a first order stream transects a portion of the subject site from east to west. Thus, as per the Riley County land development regulations, all new development shall be required to provide a riparian buffer along any perennial, intermittent, or ephemeral stream in Riley County. First order streams require a buffer zone 1 of 50 feet measured horizontally and perpendicular from the bank on both sides of the stream. And this is depicted on the site plan. And as far as what does that mean necessarily, there are certain things that you can and cannot do within that buffer zone as far as development, placing structures and things like that. Additionally, as per section 6.13 of the Riley County Land Development Regulations, a minimum setback for a residence or a structure for animal habitation shall be 200 feet from all property lines adjoining an existing agricultural use. And I believe in your staff report, there was a request to possibly reduce that, and the site plan is showing the reduction of that 200-foot request down to 50-foot. After speaking with the owner of the adjoining property and the township trustee and the applicants, they have come to agreement that this request to reduce it from 200 to 50 feet is withdrawn. They would just rather go with the 200-foot requirement. Okay. So again, with that, the site plan will need to be updated to reflect the 200-foot agricultural buffer, and it'll be moved over here more. And I believe there was also some concern about the entrance needing to be moved further north than what is shown here, about 100 feet. Again, the property slopes from north to south to this pond, and from south to north from this area here to the large hills, essentially come into a ravine. And so this is essentially a north-south divider of that property. They still like to utilize the rest of it for that home site. Okay, with that, staff recommends that the board approve the request to receive a residential use designator for an isolated home site. Obviously waiving the requirement to plat the subject property due to the size of the tract, as it has been determined that it meets the minimum requirements of the Riley County Land Development Regulations and Sanitary Code. That's all I have for this. The applicant is in attendance as well as the township trustee. If you have any questions for them, they are available.
I got one question, Bob. Is this land mainly got cedar trees on it? Is it hardwoods?
It's
What type of trees, brush, et cetera, grass? I'm just thinking from a fire standard, if you're gonna have an isolated home, you're gonna need to be thinking about your fire protection.
absolutely.
These kind of things are starting to come, we've dealt with other issues in the past. So I think the landowner needs to be thinking about their safety in case if there's a wildfire. or
Yeah,
something.
and I will let them speak to that
Okay,
as far as their comfortableness as far as development of that. And we always encourage wildland interface, distance between the home. Not a lot of cedar trees and brush growing up or tall grass growing up to the home itself. This is a mixture of different types of hardwoods and hedge trees and cedars, but the cedars you can kind of see the cedars here mixed in the darker colors here. They are obviously going to clear this area out in order to place the home in this general area here. Lateral field down here as it slips toward it. But this is also serving as the agricultural buffer. So there's 200 feet. This is 200 feet wide of forest of different varieties of hardwood, cottonwoods, and things like that.
They're on the west, right? Go up a little bit further. Right in there, that's 200 feet of trees.
No, from here
Down
to
here.
here.
Yeah, okay.
Right here. It narrows out through here and thickens back up here. The Dr. Weigel, who owns the tract, called me this morning and was concerned about because they do burn the pasture here.
Mhm.
And they do, as you recall, with other developments, even large lot developments, they will burn the actual yard. It's not a pasture, but they do burn and a controlled burn, even with the homes there, so that a wildfire doesn't get out of control and wipe out all the houses. It's to prevent those things from happening. So yeah, we encourage the development of the home in an area where, yeah, they can take advantage of the woodlands as an agricultural buffer, but make some sort of sense out of it, not building right up on that on that line. So the 200 foot, so you know, will be in this area here. So it does move the home and any building meant for animal or human habitation away from this line. This will act as a bit of a natural fire break. Because of the way or the constitution of the makeup of this forest. If it was all cedars, nah, I wouldn't trust it either. But that's been there for quite a while. So they're planning on having the house over here, maybe a pole barn, and the lateral field. That's the extent of the development. And there's not a whole lot. They're not planning on building the house over here. So. Hope that helps. Any other questions for me?
Any more questions for Bob?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Turn the light on.
So at this time, we would ask the petitioner if they would like to come up and tell us a little more about what they're doing there. And Hillary, are you?
I'm Hillary.
I'm Hillary Swinley, and the land that we are trying to parcel off belongs to my grandparents. They're in their 80s now, and we live in the Kansas City area, so we're really looking forward to getting back this direction and being able to help where they need us. As Bob was explaining, we will probably shift the driveway significantly north. When we initially had our site plan drawn up, we hadn't met with a builder or anything to get an idea of what everything could look like. And so after meeting with the builder and picking a builder, he agreed that it would make a lot more sense just because of the slope of the land in general, that entry in this pre-existing clearing would be ideal, and kind of come south a ways and north. And then we plan to clear out as many cedars as possible, especially through these areas here in the clearing and really right here. But we probably won't clear a lot of this wooded area just to use it as an agricultural and privacy buffer. We may clear a little bit just to make sure that we have plenty of space around the home and shop area.
Will you take the cedars out?
Yes, that is our primary desire for removing cedars.
Because there are a lot of them.
There are a lot, yes. And there's not a ton in the wooded space here. I mean, you might have some here and there, but a majority of them are through this section and through here. So we want to clear this out completely and utilize it as a horse pasture.
Okay, right now, there is a little roadway in there into the property down by the creek. On the
Yes.
north side of the creek. Can you show me where that is?
That is right where that pre-existing clearing was, right
Right
here.
there.
Mhm. Yep, so that comes right in here and we'll probably head south a ways and then house kind of obviously clearing a lot of this out, but
Are you talking about on the south of the creek or the north of the creek?
It was north of the creek.
oh,
The driveway that I
There is
saw.
oh, there's entry on both north and south.
Okay, I
There's a
didn't
little
see one,
driveway
I
on
guess,
both
the
sides.
south.
So there's one, this one here is just south of that little bridge that crosses that creek.
Okay.
There's also
Like
entry.
across from the shed.
Yes, it's almost directly,
Okay.
yeah. And then Andrew, is that other entrance farther up here?
There's one on up there for the.
Yeah.
It's just across that ditch.
Okay.
It's about 75 yards north
Yeah,
of where you're actually wanting. Yes.
yeah. But we wouldn't utilize that entry for, I mean, anything other than just getting tractors.
Yeah,
and-
I mean,
Yeah.
Agriculture.
The concern that I would have there, I mean, it's kind of a blind corner coming around down by that bridge. I mean, with all the stuff that's growing there and you come around that corner and then to the bridge and do you feel safe that would be the best place to put your driveway or?
I don't think the driveway that's listed on the site plan is the safest. I think here down by that bridge is a whole lot safer. There's a lot more clearance as far as
Okay.
visualizing what's coming, because this is kind of a hill here. So you can
Yeah.
kind of see who's coming down the hill and around that corner a bit better than, farther south
Who's
on
up there?
entry.
Okay.
But yes, we have trailers and, we want to have a safe way to get in and out of there. And we think
Well,
that
people
this,
just drive fast going up that road.
they do.
Sometimes.
They do. So yeah, probably be right about there.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Hillary?
I don't have any.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any other proponents that would like to speak?
I can make a comment.
Tony?
I'm Tony Aiken, the Zingdale Township trustee. So I'm going to wear two hats tonight. The first one, I think Bob and Hillary have both addressed. I felt that the driveway they're showing on the site plan you have is too close to the blind side of that corner. But where they're proposing going in should be probably about the best option. As far as, I'm taking off my township hat now, and I'm sort of in a bad spot. She's my niece. It's a good place for a house. I rent the pasture that Weigels have for 10 years. He's 93 or 94, and my opposition was the 200-foot. I told him it was a variance, but Bob says it's a buffer. Because I felt when we burn the pasture, 50 feet is not adequate with cedars, and the deputy fire chief says most of the trees need to be removed, but yet you gotta have trees for the buffer. And I just felt 50 feet is not gonna be adequate for a decent space for fire. So if they're all right, the way it was said tonight, I don't have any opposition to it.
Any other questions for Tony?
I don't have any.
Stay there, I've got one. So the piece to the south,
Which hat am I wearing today?
I don't care, either
Okay.
one of them. You can rent it. No, just the piece to the south there, who owns
The little
that?
triangle.
Yeah, the little
Donnell,
triangle.
Mrs. Scott.
Oh, okay.
I'm-
I didn't realize that was so weird up there, with the road going right through the property and stuff, so,
The rectangle bisected by the road.
yeah,
Directly south.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay,
And it gets burnt too. I mean, we all try to burn together.
yeah, I was gonna say, I knew it was because there were no cedars on it and stuff, so,
That's our best control against cedars is fire.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, all right, that answers that
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Okay, are there any other proponents? If not, are there any opponents that would like to speak? Seeing none, do I hear a motion that we close the public hearing?
I'll move that motion.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing for Hillary Swindler. And so we will go into board deliberations. What do you think, guys and ladies? I'm not used to having another lady here.
I guess if they understand about what they do, about the cedar trees and the fire, and I think that I don't have any problem with this designator lot to be approved, so I'm good on my end, so.
You just brought up a point that, Bob, what's the difference between a country estate and an isolated house acreage? Because they're both about the same amount of land.
Well, typically, isolated home site is just a lot like an extraneous farmstead where it's quite a bit smaller. It's just enough to get out of like a farming area. But the problem with this is the whole tract really fits that description. Rather than separating it off here, this can be utilized for multiple uses within the realm of the isolated home site. There can be some agricultural, there can be some horses and all that. A country estate, there's two things. They start at 20 acres and go up. And they don't be required to be platted. It's required to be platted, and with the planning board waiving that requirement because of the size of it, we don't encourage 20+ acre lots. It doesn't make any sense. And the other thing is this particular residential use designator is not subject to LISA, but the country estate is. So
That was a question I was wondering, and I didn't see nothing about a lease in here. Like, well, maybe it doesn't pertain to this
It doesn't.
situation then. So, okay,
typically they're not this big,
okay.
but once in a while, we've had another one. We've had a reconversion lot that a guy fenced off 20 of his yard from an 80-acre tract. Typically those aren't that big, but it was already established like that. So it's went with it. There's nothing that says it can't be.
Okay,
It's just typically they're not.
so this being an isolated home site and the 20-acre size of it, can they ever have another house built on that piece of land?
No, not
Okay.
without going through
Okay,
the plating and the rezoning, the standard process.
so they
No.
can if they go through the process.
Yeah, and the way it goes is this. Again, this is one of those home site or isolated home sites, one of the residential use, the only one I believe is okay, the criteria is not based on one per parent tract, like an extraneous farmstead or something like that. This is per, you can have one per 40 acres of the parent tract. So what you have here, you have 180 acres. You could have 2 or 3 others, but again, you drop below the 20-acre threshold, you got a plat. You're subject to the subdivision regulations. And you're still subject to the rest of the criteria for an isolated home site. Doesn't meet it. And if you go on this side, maybe not so much. On this side, yeah.
I would think that'd be a good place for a second home site someday.
Yeah.
It's already been cut up small enough, so.
If you could make it work, they could subdivide this across here.
That's what-
It would, and have another one up here because it's part of the parent tract. But it would require to be platted at that time. Could they do it? They could probably do it, but they don't want neighbors, I'm guessing. So-
Yeah.
Can I ask Bob a couple questions while he's there, just for
Can
clarifications,
we
not
do that?
necessarily to deal with this?
Okay.
On the conditional, to start with the steps of what was, the way they worded it makes it sound like you have to have a road around the whole thing.
Oh, no. I'll go to those.
That's the way it sounded when I first read it too.
And I thought, well, that's hard.
Okay, so the site must be isolated on all sides from surrounding agricultural lands by a road and one or more of the following criteria.
But it says isolated on
All
all sides.
sides.
Right, by a combination of a road and so,
But that's not the way it really reads.
yeah, I'm not sure if we clean that up or if that's the way it is. But what it means, I'll interpret real quick,
Sounds the way I-
is you can have one of these criteria, you can have all these criterion if a road is not one of the borders isolating it, it doesn't count. You can have the water, you can have the significant tree stand, but you have to have a road as one of the separators. So that's the one constant, and it's this plus one of these over here.
So this is kind of that perfect site then.
Yes, actually it is.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Meets the criteria.
Then another one, I've talked to you before, one of those, a country estate or this isolated, wasn't one of them have a limit on animal numbers? Or
Yes, actually it does.
which one was that?
All of them, actually. They all do. And that's the difference between one of these and the general agricultural district where there's no limit. Now, here's the deal. You can have one stock animal per acre.
On any of these?
So if you have a 20-acre tract, yeah, you can have 20 stock animals. And you can have horses, this and that.
About it, I didn't know which should pertain.
That's how it's done.
That doesn't include chickens.
That's a whole different thing.
Okay.
And that's a real big chickens.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
do I hear a motion? We close the public. We already did that. I forget where I'm at here. Any other discussion among the board members then?
I have the same concerns that John had, but they've been adequately addressed, so I'm fine.
Anything? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the request for a residential use designated isolated home site as it has been determined that it meets the requirements of the Riley County zoning regulations, Riley County subdivision regulations, and sanitary code.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the application for petition 220002 for Hillary Swindler to approve the request of the residential designated isolated home site. As it's been determined that it meets all the requirements of the zoning regulations, subdivision regulations, and sanitary code.
One with that, we need to add to that, the board is willing to waive the requirement to plat.
And that the planning board is,
Because it's over 20.
because it's willing to waive the plat because it's over 20 acres.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's.
Is that enough?
And one other thing, the site plan with it, you need to base your approval on the contingency that the site plan is updated to reflect the changes that were discussed this evening.
okay. And that the site plan is updated to reflect the changes of the 200-foot setback for tonight and the moving of the driveway.
Yeah.
Is that anything else? Okay,
That's it.
all right. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you
Yeah,
very
this-
much. And
This particular request does not go on to the Board of County Commission. Since there's no plat associated with it. Have an FYI. This is it.
good luck.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah. I'll be glad to see those cedar trees go. Thank you for
Everyone
coming.
wants a pretty
You can,
little
you're more than
evergreen
welcome to
Christmas.
stay, or you can leave if you wish.
Thanks.
Okay, the next one we have is from the county commissioners. Special use authorization for the Riley County, from the Riley County Fire Chief, Russell Stuckey.
Stuckey.
Stuckey, sorry. Hello there. And I guess we'll wait on that. You're up, Bob.
Okay. Can't believe I lost my crowd. Okay. Oh, Patty. Good evening again. Let's see if I get the right one here.
The only one that got loud.
Yeah.
We
I
hope
want to
you
make
don't
sure
have-
I get it done right, though. All right, I'll be here. It was in here somewhere. Okay, the Riley County Board of County Commissioners has made application with Riley County Planning and Development requesting a special use authorization to permit the construction and operation of a rural fire station. The proposed fire station will eventually replace the current station, Ashland Fire Station that is, and will serve an area encompassing a 5-mile radius. The subject site is generally located approximately 1,000 feet southwest of the intersection of McDowell Creek Road and West 32nd Avenue on the south side of McDowell Creek Road. It's a bit of a jaunt from the existing fire station, which I believe is right there. The Riley County Fire District Number 1 provides and maintains all of the fire stations in the county fire district. The building that houses the current Ashland Station, located at 2920 West 40th Street, was originally constructed in 1916 and converted into a fire station during the 1960s when the Rural Fire District was formed. The station has been on the district's replacement schedule for years, as it has become inadequately sized to house the newer trucks. This is not dissimilar to other stations in the county facing the same exact predicament. The fire district is proposing a 50 by 40-foot fire station generally located approximately 1,000 feet southwest of the intersection of McDowell Creek Road and West 32nd Avenue on the south side of McDowell Creek Road, but it's to be owned and used by the Rural Fire District. As mentioned previously, the proposed fire station will eventually replace the current station. So the subject property is zoned AG Agricultural District and has been zoned as such since at least 1974. Most of the property surrounding the site is also zoned AG Agricultural, and you can see that shown here in gray, with the exception of a residentially zoned platted lot of the Conley addition, just cat a corner from it, situated northwest of the site there. There are no conditional uses, variances, or other special uses associated with the site. The Riley County Fire District number 1 will serve and occupy the site. This is kind of a tricky one. The nearest county fire station is the Ashland Fire Station, located at 2881 West 32nd, which will go away when this one gets built. So there's the tricky part. This map shows the location of the existing station and that of the new station. This is the site plan illustrating the orientation and location of the lot's boundaries in relation to the proposed fire station. A zoomed in version of the same site plan shows the dimensions and layout of the building and parking lot. Parking area will be concrete. The site plan has been reviewed by the county engineer and county environmental health specialist, was found to be acceptable. But there is an existing recorded 20-foot travel easement across the subject tract that serves the residents south of the site. The request is not expected to have a detrimental effect on either the driveway, travel easement, or nearby residents. Maybe even lower their insurance. Staff recommends that the planning board forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners for a special use authorization, allowing the construction and use of a rural fire station, as it has been determined that it meets the requirements of the Riley County Land Development Regulations and the Riley County Sanitary Code. And as you know, in your staff report, there's a couple things going on here. Maybe I can answer some questions before they're asked. There's no plans at this point to have facilities in it, so it meets the sanitary code. It's just not going to be used. And on another end of it, like the Ogden fire station, there are traffic lights. That is a considerably different situation than this one. I asked Rural Fire if they were going to install any lights. There will not be any street lights installed across McDowell Creek Road. So that's it. The fire chief is here in attendance. If you have any questions, I'm sure he'd be glad to ask or answer those. If you have any questions for me, that's all I have.
So are they going to use that same driveway as that resident then?
Yes.
Who's required to maintain that portion of that driveway? Will the fire department keep that up, or the homeowner?
I think it's going to be a combination, quite frankly, but it depends on the language that's in that travel easement. Usually if there's a travel easement across someone's property, the person who, or the grantee of the travel easement usually has some sort of responsibility of maintaining the travel easement across there. And it's to both, I believe, both of their best interests to keep it maintained. At least this little bit right here. So.
But they will, the fire department will be using that same.
Yeah.
That same road.
Yeah.
Will there be any improvements to that driveway since they're using fire trucks and stuff? I mean, is it wide enough? Is it adequate?
I believe it's adequate, but I'll reserve that one for Mr. Stuckey for him to answer. I believe that it'll serve the purpose, quite frankly.
Any other questions, Bob? Okay. Mr. Stuckey, welcome.
Russell Stuckey, Riley County Fire District number 1. Yeah, obviously, we're going to use about where we own both sides of it. We'll use 2/3 of that on a regular basis. So obviously, we/County Public Works will maintain that, at least the 2/3 of it. And then the rest would be the adjoining property owner responsibility, in my opinion.
He's been notified that your attention is per station.
He's called more than once. I'm surprised he's not here.
My question for, why is there no water? I mean, you gotta have water in those trucks. Where do you get your water at? Or is it just always constantly full of water?
Well, to when they're sitting in the station, they're full, and then when we go to a fire, we just have to go somewhere where there's a fire hydrant, but there's not any water available. No real water available to us in that area.
And there's no plans to put in a well or anything to provide water?
No. We have multiple stations that are that way now. So they have to, go halfway back to town, and John can speak up north. They pretty much got to go to Randolph to fill up. So like Mayday and Sweet Creek and Peach Grove, all three of those stations pretty well have to go to Randolph, right, John?
Yeah. You got, like in the north end of the county, you got virtually everything from Randolph north is got to come to Randolph to reload. That's why we have tankers, tenders, I guess now, I call them tankers, tenders.
So like the Mayday truck, a farmer lets us fill up, who's also a firefighter.
Right. Yeah.
Lets us fill up out of his
Storage tank.
Yeah, where
From
he
Mayday Springs.
where he fills his sprayers, his ag sprayers. We fill up there at Mayday, but
Peach Grove and Sweet Creek, we have to go to Randolph to fill up. So, and over the years, I mean, there was never, I don't know why there never was any discussion to reason why we don't have wells. I guess it'd just be another upkeep that we got to take care of. It's just as quick sometimes. It's quicker now with our bigger rigs. For instance, the tender that we have at Sweet Creek, 2,500 gallon, 2,600 gallon truck. It's a Army Hemet. It'll run 65 down the highway. So it takes any more with the fire district. We're upgrading our trucks, upgrading our tanker, our tender trucks to where, I mean, they're all over the road, old over the road semis that we've converted into tankers. So we got the speed there to do it, and there's just less upkeep with the wells and stuff like that to have around. There's somebody running over that, at this area. And a lot of the time, and most of the times, you don't have that big an area where our stations are located at, like this area here, Sweet Creek, Mayday. There's not that much acreage with those fire stations to probably put a well down or do any type of lateral field or anything else besides that. So Sweet Creek does have an outhouse. So
as far as bathroom facilities, and then the other thing I would say on the well, you'd have to drill a big well to get the volume, the gallons per minute to fill the tankers up in a very timely manner, versus where it's faster just to drive to town. Because and I'm not all that well versed on wells, but a 20 or 30 gallon minute well is probably a pretty good well. And so that'd take how many hours to fill a 2,000 gallon truck? So it's faster just to run to town, get it on a fire hydrant that'll flow 500 or 1,000 gallons a minute.
But the trucks that are in the station are always full?
Yep. Our trucks,
Just refill them before we put it back in.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's been criteria for as long as I can ever remember, and that's been 45 years. So, but they're always ready to go. So that's kind of the policy. So,
knock on wood.
Yeah, well, we won't get into we won't get into that.
At least you got heat to the building.
We got heat, we got heat, so.
You're not gonna freeze it up?
Nope, okay, so that's kind of a background deal, so.
Okay, are there any other questions of Mr. Stuckey? It's not. Do I hear a motion that we close the public hearing? Or I guess, no, that's Amanda back there. Okay, close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing and go into our deliberation mode, so.
She better had to be in a phone.
Second. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing and go into deliberative mode. So, board members, what is your thoughts?
5-0. You
Oh.
did the closing, but did you ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Sorry, thank you.
No problem.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna, give out the biggest spiel I can because I've been a firefighter for since I was 18 years old. And it's very important that we upgrade our stations throughout the county, which we've been doing for a lot of years. We still got some ways to go with some buildings and stuff, but this situation has been looked at for the last 5 years or so. The property's been bought for the last at least 2 from the landowner there. And it's gonna be easier access for our firefighters and stuff to get to the station. The station at Ashland is it's probably, probably less than 15 feet wide, and 30 feet long. I mean, it's very, very tight situation. And, we're always trying to improve our taxpayer. We're always trying to use our taxpayers' money to increase or to build our new stations, get newer trucks so that we can get to the fire quicker, which reduces your insurance on gives you a better insurance rating. So, as we talked earlier, with upgrading our trucks and stuff, quicker response time to the fires and stuff, or been a big part of what we've been trying to increase since we started the fire district. So,
What's in that box just to the right of there? Looks like trees or something?
This is Ashland Cemetery.
Oh,
cemetery,
cemetery.
yeah, that's on the property, the cemetery there. So.
Okay.
That's the scary part of the request.
And then so that little space in between is the part that they've got fenced off for the expansion of the cemetery?
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna ask that little, if they farmed that, but if it's gonna be expansion cemetery, I understand that.
It's grass.
Now I know exactly where it's at.
So, yes, I think this is an awesome idea.
Okay. Well, in light of that, do we hear a motion?
Well, you gotta. So I'm gonna make the motion I'm gonna move to recommend the approval, the request of the special use authorization for the subject property to construct a 50 by 40 fire station at the site generally located 1,000 feet southwest of the intersection of McDowell Creek Road and West 32nd Avenue on the south side of McDowell Creek Road, to be owned and used by the Raleigh County Rural Fire District.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the request of the special use authorization for the 40 by 50 fire station on McDowell Creek Road, and that the property is owned and will be used by the Rural Fire District. That's on petition 220003, the special use authorization. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, I need to make a quick announcement. The Board of County Commissioners will hear this request Thursday, January 27th at 10:20 a.m. in these chambers. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, who seconded on that?
We have one more item. We have one more item.
We have one more item.
Yep. And don't forget, we have a Mylar out here to sign.
So our next item is a review of the comprehensive plan.
It's just a reminder.
It's just a reminder of it, or?
Yeah, it's just a reminder.
I'm here to remind you that there's going to be a. Yeah, really, that's essentially it. Now that we got the regulations in place, taking a look at the horizon of the comprehensive plan, and again, just because it says 2025 isn't the reason why we're doing this. Typically, the comprehensive plans have a 20-year horizon, but you get started on them about the halfway point, and so it's ready to go to keep it going. Makes sense. As you know, the comprehensive plan takes a little bit of time to put together. As Amanda's mentioned earlier, this might come with a consultant, and maybe not a full-time consultant like we have with Elizabeth, but a part-time. We have to get together and decide and work out some ideas as far as how we're going to put this thing together as far as updating the plan. As you know, by looking at the plan, there's some really good concepts in there. There's maybe a few things that we could add to it to make it even better. The dates, the populations, the graphs, that kind of thing they're dated. They're already past due. So 2020, at the very least, gave us a new census, new information to go off of. So it's a good time. So we can get that started next.
When we redid that the last time, it seemed like it was forever.
It was.
2025. So, okay, is there any other business that needs to come before the board? One thing I would remind you of, the next meeting is February the 14th. 2022.
It's Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's Day.
You guys don't have to get me anything. I appreciate
We
it.
can bring our sweethearts and have a wonderful evening.
I may not be here for that one. I might be in South Carolina. Yes, right.
Will you let us know for sure?
Yeah, I'll check it out, but because when you said Valentine's Day, and I thought, when I was going there, I was gonna miss Valentine's Day, so I'll miss double Valentine's.
The December meeting that we were in, is that just we're done?
Actually, we visited with Tom Tall, and with COVID being the way it is, and he just does not feel comfortable having a gathering and having anybody get sick from the gathering. So there will not be a dinner for Tom Tall.
I can put this in just real quick. Drove through Manhattan today, and the COVID line was.
Yeah.
And
And still,
clear back to
yes.
the drive-in
You notice
of
that
the mall.
it was still shorter than the Dunkin' Donuts line. Sorry.
I move we adjourn.
It's been moved that we adjourn. Do I hear a second? It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried 5-0.
Don't
Thank
forget
you.
to sign the Mylar. Oh, yeah, and there's cookies.
Yeah, we'll make cookies with us. So Rita, where do you live at?
University Park, Randolph.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, towards-
Okay, I live up north of Randolph,
Oh,
up the north end. Yeah. Good, we got.
okay. Are you on the fire department at Randolph?
Sweet Creek.
Oh, okay. My husband's just joined the one at University Park.
Oh, okay.
Like in the past year and a half.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I know he's always goes up to Randolph for.
Yep, we go to Randolph for training, yep, that'll be, Thursday night.
So Nathan is over west of Riley. Okay. Joe is down on McDowell Creek.
Yep.
I'm out at Zingdale. Okay. And then John is North County. All right.
We got
Got it pretty well covered.
Yeah, we do, yeah. At least we don't have that gap in between Tom and me. Well, I guess you're to the west side.
Yeah.
We're still with it
Yeah.
again, so, yeah, so welcome aboard. My first meeting was about from 7 to 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's about the way mine was too. You must have had a doozy.
We did have a doozy that night,
We
yeah.
hope not to have too many of those ever.
He's out there. He's grabbing.
Russell, can I ask you some questions real quick?
Sure.
Oh, that video is hilarious. I'm always standing here waving and waving. There we go. Yeah, I'm waving.
Warren, what do you got?
The good thing is that for the most part, nothing comes to board without. Once you go wrong, when you just.